Doom Eternal has an absolutely insane speedrun, probably the hardest I've ever attempted. The amount of hours, dedication, and practice required to get good at a game as complex and fast-paced as this is insane. I have about 440 hours in Doom Eternal. Most of that is speedrunning, and most of that time I've spent running the any percent restricted category. But I wanted a challenge. I saw the top dog in town and I wanted a piece. I may only be in the top 12, but I wanted to see how I would compare against one of the best. This is why I challenged any percent restricted world record holder Mute D6 to a speedrun race. But the rules would not be so straightforward. To make it interesting, because obviously he would absolutely body me worse than Eminem body Machine Gun Kelly if we did a normal race, Mute has been practicing the 100% Ultra Nightmare category. It follows the same rules as the any percent restricted run, but you have to play on the hardest difficulty and complete 100% of the game. This means all upgrades, weapons, and combat encounters. The run's usually about 2 hours long, whereas the any percent restricted run is about 1 hour long. In order to beat him, I am going to need to finish 2 80% runs before he can finish one 100% run. The rules are simple. We're going to be using the load remover timers so we have a fair comparison. That means the timers on screen dictate who wins, not who finishes first in real time. We would be running 2 separate categories. This is to eliminate any discrepancies with load times because we both have very different computers that load the game at very different speeds. For my time, we'll add both of my end game times together and compare that to what his one run time was. Without further ado, let the gaming occur. Right at the start, you'll notice an immediate difference between Mute and I. My goal is simple: finish the level. Mute, on the other hand, has to collect all of the secrets on the level and has to worry about dying a lot more than me. There slowly becomes more and more optional content that Mute will have to do every level. So at the start, we should be pretty neck and neck. Bro, I'm already so far ahead of you. Wow, so slow.
Oh shit.
So slow. At the first combat encounter, the most random one in the whole game, you have to kill 13 imps and a few soldiers, but they spawn in completely random locations and do completely random things. I got a decent barge, but Mute gets trolled and this gives me an early lead. Good thing too, because boy was I rusty. I made my way to the next major combat encounter, but this one has a skip. If you have a really high frame rate, you can put some distance between yourself and an enemy to use the lunge from a punch to send you flying. If done correctly here, you can go right over the invisible wall that despawns when you kill these enemies and skip right past the fight. I got omega trolled here and the soldier pushed me away from the zombie. Got trolled. It's okay, I saved it. I got trolled super hard. Fortunately, I was on easy, or I would have died here for sure. I eventually pulled it off, but that gave me plenty of time to grab a second weapon mod and toy and catch up to me. Not for long though, as I would be able to skip right downtown and get another punch loft off this spider turret. Too bad I'm washed and splattered on the invisible wall, falling into the void and failing the skip. No, there's no way I failed that. Mute, unable to do this skip, goes through the buildings and collects a note and is neck and neck with me when we go into the subway. Mute really flexes his stuff here though, as he finishes the combat 1 second before me when he started it a few seconds after me. His combat in the early game would be a big gap closer in this race for sure. Mute says his Hell on Earth was so bad, but really, he beat me by 10 seconds when he had to do way more stuff than me. This was not a good start for me, but I was nervous, as he is the god gamer of Doom Eternal after all. I just needed to hit my stride, and then I would be fine. After Mute grabs the codexes, we end at nearly exactly the same time.
I only hit firsties. No be opposite. None.
This is so sad. Okay, we finished at like the same time, which is kind of hilarious. I accidentally grabbed the wrong upgrade at the crystal and I have no idea what to do. This completely fucks my entire game's routing. Mute could have taken advantage of this and had me absolutely demolished. He was feeling generous though and told me how to solve this problem. It's not like he would have needed the extra lead though. Oh my god, I trolled. I picked up the wrong crystal.
No.
This is so sad, what do I do?
Reset mission, it starts you at the fortress.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Because he is doing Ultra Nightmare or Nightmare with no reloads, he has one extra combat encounter than me on Exultia. When you grab the dash, you can exit to the main menu and load back in. This skips the extra combat by not requiring you to go through that door. Because of this, our timers start to desync as I do more strategies that require you to go to the main menu, stopping the timer. I enter the portal to hell at 9:35 and Mute does at 10:05, even though it happens in real time for him first. So I have a pretty substantial lead now, about 30 seconds. I need to rack up as big a lead as possible though, so I can lap him and start my second run. That would only get easier from here though, as the further we get into the game, the shorter the levels become. This is mostly due to the really big skips that you can do in any percent, like this punch launch off the spider. There, Sean. This skips many combat encounters and a lot of platforming. I even get the bunny hop off the pillar and get right to the chain skip. Meanwhile, Mute has to navigate through some goo after doing a secret encounter. Secret encounters are extra combat encounters that you have to kill in 100%. They are on a timer, but that's no problem at all for a speedrunner, obviously. After dealing with that and the goo, Mute does a trick called Super Weaver, where he gets a dash boost off of this pillar and then flies into the spider and punches himself in the air. This lets him skip this arena. You can do this in 100% because this arena is not part of the required combat rating that you see in the top right of the screen. 100% is just all tracked progress in the game. If the combat isn't tracked, you don't have to do it. I beat Exultia with a really good portal fight and clearing it in about 13 minutes. But Mute has a lot more to do. By that time, he has finished the Super Weaver and is doing the Slayer Gate. A Slayer Gate is just like a secret encounter, except there is no timer and you have to collect a key to unlock it. Then, once you do, you get teleported into a special arena where you fight waves of enemies. Once you kill every enemy in the arena, it teleports you back, giving you a ton of combat rating and another key. This key is one of many used to unlock the worst gun in the game, the Unmaker. You have to unlock the Unmaker in 100%, so that you have to do all of the Slayer Gates. They also give you the combat rating you need for the level though. Mute tries but fails to get what is called a fast gate. You see, the Slayer Gate ends when you kill all of the spawned enemies. So if you kill all of the enemies fast enough, then you can skip a lot of the ones that will spawn later by ending the gate early. The first gate is especially important because the heavies always spawn where you're looking. So while you kill the imps and gargoyles flying around, what you want to do is try to look at this side of the arena. This is because there are two spawning spaces that the revenants can spawn in where they just get stuck and die instantly. This means you don't have to kill them yourself and you can focus on clearing the fodder enemies and get a fast gate. Mute, unfortunately for him, is very unlucky and doesn't get a fast gate because he can't find all of the fodder and loses quite a lot of time here. Right after that, he has a portal fight though, and he does not mess that one up at all. Beautiful. My lead is starting to extend. I finished about 3.5 minutes ahead of Mute at the end of Exultia. Cultist Base is by far the longest level in any percent, but it's also super long in 100%. You can skip the rocket arena by punching your way out of it on the Mancubus, and the pit fight you can edge boost off the chainsaw field platform. I totally forgot to kill the mecha zombies though, so I had to do this skip twice. Even though my level is much shorter than Mute's, he really hits his stride in Cultist Space and flies through it. The extra secret encounter and the Slayer Gate are nothing for the almighty Mute. Even though he still loses another 3 minutes on me, not as much as I was hoping. I finished the level at 25 minutes and he finishes at 32 minutes. If I wanted to beat him, I needed to get a whole hour ahead. Doom Hunter Base is really straightforward. Just a big ol' yeet to the boss and then bonk him right to horny jail. Yeet incoming. 3, 2, 1, yeet, engage.
Where are you going?
No hold at one. This is so sad. It's a little bit more complicated and a lot scarier though for Mute, as he has to go through a lot more combat rooms in this level. It's also the start of another even more complicated part of his run. He now has to start doing mission challenges. Mission challenges can be anything from using the map to getting a specific glory kill. In Doom Hunter Base, he has to kill all 3 enemies at once with a grenade. The start of the game has really simple challenges, but near the end, they become absolute run enders. This is also part of the run where Mute will have to start focusing on getting his masteries. Not only do you have to upgrade and collect all of the weapons, but you have to master all of them too. This means that once you upgrade the weapon fully, there's a special objective that every weapon mod gets. Once you complete this objective, the mastery is then completed. Usually this involves killing a specific enemy with that specific weapon mod, but sometimes it's a bit more complicated than that. The first mastery he'll go for is Meat Hook for the super shotgun. He has to kill 50 enemies while hooked onto them with the Meat Hook. 50 is a lot, but upgrading the shotgun early is really useful for late game, and he starts farming them on Doom Hunter Base. He too uses the Yeet Hook to fly across the map, but he has to do it 2 times, because he still has to collect everything. The boss fight for him is realistically the scariest part of the entire game. The Doom Hunters are way more aggressive and hit way harder on Nightmare. It shows too, because the Prowler locks him into a corner and Mute gets his ass beat, making him have to restart the fight.
I died in Doom Hunter Base Phase 2.
Mute finishes Doom Hunter base at about 40 minutes. Before he can finish it though, I head into Super Gore Nest, and now I'm almost exactly one mission ahead of him. This is pretty good pace for me. The start of my Super Gore Nest was really bad. I missed a few enemies right at the start that threw my entire timing for the whole fight off. I recovered nicely though, and finished Super Gore Nest before Mute finishes Doom Hunter base. Not very Doom Hunter based if you ask me. I'm sorry, that was terrible. Along with by far the biggest differential between 100% and any percent is Arc Complex. Arc has the most required combat encounters of any of the 100% levels, but the least of any of the any percent levels. After the first two arenas, you just yeet into the wall at Mach 10 speed and bounce face first into the sky and over this wall. The wall then teleports you to in the later half of the level where you can perform hentai skip and go right into the Marauder final boss. The Marauder is really a difficult enemy for most people, but not for me. I finished Arc in about 40 minutes and now 2 missions ahead of Mute. Mute is in the meantime making pretty solid pace heading into Super Gore Nest. This level you have to get 3 different glory kills on pinkies throughout the level. He collects the first one right at the first arena, then after the epic quad damage arena, he gets the back glory kill on the invisible pinky. He saves the final pinky for last when he fast travels to the last areas to get some of the miscellaneous toys and cookies that he missed. Then he does the Slayer Gate and starts mastering the Destroyer Blade. In fact, he starts mastering the Precision Bolt and picks up micro missiles in this level as well. Back to the weeb with the great hair, I head into Mars Core and I really want to do this well. Just recently, I spent 100 speedruns on Mars Core to try and improve it. This would be a great test to see if that worked. I made a video about that too, you should check it out, it's good stuff. Anyways, chilling aside, the practice worked. Mainly, making things more consistent that were a little bit risky before. Like this crazy skip. That was terrifying. And this skip. And this skip. Man, I love Mars Core. At about 46 minutes, I finished Sentinel Prime, finishing off Dave Gruhl. This is when Mute finishes Super Gore Nest. But before he can start the next mission, he has to collect most of the items inside the Fortress of Doom while he still has a chance to do so. This is basically 3 minutes of inserting batteries that I don't have to do, but he does. Sorry, Mute. This is when I step into Taurus Nabad, one of the levels of all time. What makes this level so annoying is how the Archviles, the big tanky enemies that spawn in more enemies if you let them do so, normally you shoot the BFG at them to stop them, but because Doom Eternal is a perfect game that sometimes when you shoot the BFG completely crashes the game and randomly, randomly the Archviles will just not die, they just refuse. The whole meme of the local man too angry to die isn't actually about Doom Guy. It's about the Archviles. There are 3 Archviles in this level and 2 of them you BFG. Fortunately, only one of them was too angry to die for me. Didn't die to me.
Arc Complex, here we go.
Off to a great start. First Archvile didn't die. Mute heads into Arc Complex, the longest level in the 100% run. This is where I have an opportunity to create a huge gap. My arc was basically perfect and only 2.5 minutes long. If Mute is lucky, his will be about 11 minutes. Mute is a little different than other hundo runners though. He's gonna do a big yeet into the sky just like me. Well, a slightly different version than me, but the same trick. This allows him to get right to the end of the level and unlock fast travel. Just because he has to do everything in the level doesn't mean he has to do everything in the level in order. By unlocking fast travel, he can teleport to any part of the map he wants, even stuff he hasn't seen before. This allows him to unlock the Slayer Gate early and to collect things in a more optimal order. The best part is by the end of the level, he gets to do what is called Quad Gate. So it turns out you can actually keep power-ups through fast traveling. So if you collect the quad damage at the end of the level, then fast travel to the Slayer Gate, you can move in the white screen during the fast travel and activate the gate, giving you just enough time to kill the tyrant, refilling your quad damage. You can then go back and kill the other tyrant, then the Baron, as it spawns, skipping all of the heavy spawns in the Slayer Gate. Then you can go quickly kill the Doom Hunter as it spawns, killing everything in the whole Slayer Gate with quad damage. Mute, being the main pioneer of this strat, of course, does it perfectly.
I did it, the perfect quad gate, let's go!
After this, Mute will head into the Mars Core of his own, where he then starts to master Arbalest and Micro Missiles, both of which shouldn't be finished until the end of the game. Mute has to go out of his way to grab a ton of extra combat as well as a Slayer Gate on this level. But this one is easy because of the BFG routing. He routes it so that he uses 2 BFG in the Slayer Gate to do it quickly, then grabs the ammo crystal, refilling his BFG for the next level. Necroval 1 and 2 go pretty simple for me and straightforward. Not many huge skips or anything, they go pretty well. Urdak on the other hand is anything but simple. Urdak in any percent has a lot of super cool movement skips, all of which I nail perfectly.
Oh,
let's go. I hit the fucking sick movement that I never hit for the most part. Ah! Even Big Dick Skip, or as we call it, sausage.
I picked up another toy.
Didn't fail sausage, poggers. I head into Final Sin at about 1 hour and 6 minutes. I skip past the first arena, bouncing into the icon of Sin's booty, then fly to the end of the level with a series of ballista boosts and a BFG shot ending, with a final yeet to the end of Final Sin. The final boss is actually an auto-scroller. You can't make it go any faster. Once you unload into his body parts with your sick gamer quick swaps, he throws a temper tantrum and ends the fight. I finished my first run with a 1:11:23, only 2 minutes and 13 seconds off my personal best. For a race, that's really good. And I golded Final Sin by a lot, which means that was my best ever Final Sin. But I had a lot of catching up to do. I started my second run immediately. Mute was just making it into Terrorist Abad when I started my second run, just over halfway through the game. But this time, I was warmed up and ready to go. No more mistakes in early game, I swear. Mute's Tara started out terrible. The first Archvile refused to die to the BFG, but in 100%, you also do a secret encounter during this fight and shoot the BFG in the middle of that. He struggled, but managed to kill the Doom Hunter before the timer ran out, but the Archvile he could not kill before it spawned in a bunch of ghost enemies. Oh, and about me not missing skips. Bro, what? I'm trolling. This is what happens, dude. You run a different category for like 1 day, and all of a sudden you can't fucking punch lunch. In my defense, I was learning 100% right before we started this race, so I was a little out of practice. Also, the game's hard, man. I had another terrible Hell on Earth, but hopefully the rest of the game would go well, and I could finish before Mute if I was lucky. Mute's Taurus was going well, but the ending was very scary. One of the challenges in this level is you have to glory kill 3 pain elementals with 3 different glory kill animations. Can you guess how many pain elementals are even in the level? Yeah, that's right, 3. So if you accidentally kill one with the wrong glory kill animation, or you kill one without glory killing at all, then, well, you're shit out of luck. This is the first of 4 challenges like this where you only get 1 chance. Necroval 1 requires you to get a left side glory kill on the Doom Hunter, while Necroval 2 requires a glory kill on the Tyrant from the back and the left side on the Archvile. There are 2 Doom Hunters on Necroval 1, but only 1 Archvile and 1 Tyrant on Necroval 2. Let's just say, these challenges are a big part of the reason why it's so hard to finish a 100% Ultra Nightmare run. As much as I would like to say I hit my stride in the second run, it certainly wasn't the case on Exultia. The skips were okay, but the combat, especially on the portal fight at the end, was really sloppy and lost me a ton of time. It didn't matter much though because it was cancelled out by Mute's game being Doom Eternal. After Taurus, you can go and collect everything inside of the fortress before you move on. This is because it's your last chance to do so before the end of the game. It takes about 3 minutes again. Normally this is the case, but it took a little bit longer for Mute this time. Because somehow the Unmaker, the last gun you get, just vanished?
No. Oh no.
What happened? Unmaker disappeared?
The Unmaker disappeared.
What?
No.
No idea where it went. Just poof. Never seen this before. Technically, this makes Mute's run invalid as he doesn't actually get 100% completion because, well, he didn't get the Unmaker. So I win. Jokes aside, he actually kind of like needed that gun. It's terrible and not useful at all, except for one spot on Necroval 2 where it's extremely useful. You use the haste power up and that gives you unlimited ammo and a speed boost. And you can use the Unmaker during this, even though the Unmaker uses BFG ammo. In this instance, it's unlimited still. Unlike the BFG, who does not get unlimited ammo from the overdrive buffs for some reason. This normally is used to kill the entire room very quickly. Mute, of course, gets the first glory kill on the Doom Hunter with these and heads into Necroval 2 at about 1 hour and 36 minutes. I finished Cultist base at about 25 minutes, almost exactly the same pace as the previous run. At least I'm consistent, I guess. At this time, Mute is almost done with Necroval 2. He almost got trolled by the Archvile, as it can sometimes stun and stagger in a way that makes it impossible to glory kill, but he had a backup strategy. Then he did a very nice setup for the glory kill right at the start of the fight on the Tyrant near the end of the level. Mute finishes Necroval 2 at about 1 hour and 42 minutes. All he has left is Urdak and Final Sin, while I'm only on the Doom Hunter base. There's still a chance for me though, because Mute has to master every weapon. If his masteries are low at some point, he would have to spend a lot of extra time collecting those before he could finish the levels. And Urdak in 100% is much longer than an 80%. Instead of being able to skip the first combat encounter, he has to farm micro missile ticks while waiting for snakes to spawn. Then he can run away and shoot a BFG behind him, killing all the enemies and giving him the combat rating. Then he spends some extra time on the secret encounter and he can't skip to the purple ring. Instead, he has to do what's called daddy skip. By flying to the next arena and killing the Marauder, you unlock a button that moves the ring, but has a long unskippable cutscene attached. He can then ballista launch and bunny hop to the next island where he spawns in that fight. He has to kill every enemy in this fight to get the combat rating, but there's a 40-second timer before the Archvile spawns. This is why he yeets off the enemy and flies to the purple ring and does the combat there during this combat. This basically eliminates all of the waiting in that previous fight. Then he can shoot a single BFG to end both fights at once by aiming at the previous arena from the current one. If you're unlucky though, like Mute was, the Archvile won't die for the BFG on the way back and you'll have to kill him while you're on the way to the other arena. Then where you would normally do sausage skip at any percent, there's another fight with a timer. Once you kill the Baron and the Snake, you're waiting on more spawns, so you can yeet off to the next arena with the meatball. Once to the next section, you make it back to the rest of the enemies and they should have spawned by now. You can then kill them all, leaving only the Cacodemon left and yeeting off him to the final arena, turning around midair to hit this sick Arbalest shot ending the fight. Yeah, Urdak fucks. After Mute finishes Urdak, I'm about halfway through Cerbogor Nest. He only has one level left, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm fucked. Mute can't skip the first arena, as he needs the combat rating. And he farms a bit of micro missile ticks while waiting for the timer to spawn. There are no more challenges or secrets, he just has to beat the level. Mute finishes his run at about 1 hour and 56 minutes. A huge run. Anything under 2 hours is really good time. In fact, there has been less than 10 people that have ever gotten sub 2 in 100% Ultra Nightmare, and Mute obviously is one of them. Technically, it wasn't 100%. He didn't get the Unmaker, but either way, he absolutely destroyed me. Mute is an absolute leg end, and he is going for the world record in 100% Ultra Nightmare, and he only needs to save 40 seconds. So please go check him out on twitch.tv/mutedD6_. Due to my loads being faster, I still had about 5 minutes to beat the game, and if I did, then technically I would have won. This was after I beat Arc. So, you know, I just had to beat world record for any percent restricted by about 20 minutes. Not gonna happen. I still finished the run though, just to see what kind of time I could get. It was actually pretty decent. I golded Urdak and got a 1:11:30. If you add both of my times together, you get 2 hours and 23 minutes. That means Mute beat me by about 27 minutes. I got absolutely blown out of the water. It was a ton of fun though, and a good way for us both to get some good practice. Next time, we'll do it again, but I'll run 100% and he'll run 80% twice. But before then, I must practice. Thanks again so much for watching and stay stylish.